Apple's got a redesigned iPad Air and it looks a lot like the iPad Pro. Let's see how its specs stack up against the competition. Say hello to the competition, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 and the Microsoft Surface Pro 7. Now why these two? Well, Apple compared the new iPad and iPad Air to a number of devices including Android tablets and Windows machines. So I think it's fair that the Galaxy Tab S7 represent Android tablets. And let's have Microsoft provide the Windows side. Their prices are also in the same ballpark. The iPad Air starts at $599, the Galaxy Tab S7 starts at $649, and the base Surface Pro 7 costs $749. We'll spend some more time digging into the pricing in a little bit. Let's start at the screens. The iPad Air now has a 10.9-inch display crammed into its body. The previous generation was at 10.5 because of those big top and bottom bezels. Apple moved Touch ID from that home button to the top button and moved the home button just off of the Air. Meanwhile, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 has an 11-inch display. Microsoft Surface Pro 7 packs in a huge 12.3-inch screen. They all kind of look the same. You look at them from the front. You get a rounded rectangle with a black bezel. Neat. But what about the quality of the displays? With the Galaxy Tab S7, you get a 120Hz refresh rate. That means you can see pretty slick scrolling and animations, amongst other things. The Surface Pro 7 comes in at a more traditional 60Hz. How about the new iPad Air? It looks like it's also at 60Hz. Apple does have 120Hz displays on iPad Pro models. You can find it listed as ProMotion technology. There is no mention of ProMotion tech for the iPad Air. Let's talk about ports because Apple ditched the Lightning connector on the iPad Air. That's right, you're looking at USB-C on the iPad Air. Before this, Apple moved to USB-C on the iPad Pro and its computers. USB-C should also make it much simpler to connect other devices to the iPad Air without needing a whatever to Lightning adapter. That's because USB-C is a standard, and standards are good. That's probably why you'll find USB-C on the Galaxy Tab S7 and the Surface Pro 7. Anybody want a 3.5mm headphone jack? Looking at the three tablets, you're getting that only on the Microsoft Surface Pro 7. With this new rev, Apple got rid of its traditional headphone jack on the iPad Air. Storage is always important. Both the Tab S7 and Surface Pro 7 start off with 128 gigs of space. Now, how fair is that comparison? I'm not sure, considering you have Android on one and full Windows 10 on the other, but the iPad Air still starts at 64 gigabytes of space. I checked that number again and again, and yep, it's 64 gigs. That's the same amount you would get on a base iPhone 11. You can expand storage on non-iPads I mentioned using micro SD cards if you want. Apple does list the USB-C port as a possibility for expansion, so like the iPad Pro, you should be able to access hard drives using USB-C, but that's not as elegant as a micro SD card or maybe just more onboard storage. So here's where we start messing with the pricing. If you want to upgrade the internal storage of the iPad Air, you can. There's a 256 gigabyte model of the iPad Air. That pushes the iPad Air's price to $749. That's the same price as the base Surface Pro 7. Yes, you get more storage for the money, but one is an iPad and the other is a full-fledged Windows computer. Moving to Samsung, a 256 gig model of the Tab S7 is around $730. So that's $20 cheaper than the 256 gig version of the Air. The pricing gets even murkier if you're looking at accessories. All of these companies brag about how great their tablets are for creativity. Just grab a stylus and go to town. In the case of Samsung, its Tab S7 comes with an S Pen in the box. You can get right to it, draw away. An Apple Pencil for the iPad Air costs an additional $129. A Surface Pen normally costs around $100 extra. The Apple iPad Air, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7, and the Surface Pro 7, none of them ship with an included keyboard. Apple's Smart Keyboard cover is $180. The book cover keyboard for the Tab S7 is $200, and the Surface Pro type cover is around $90 if it's on sale. So the pricing varies greatly depending on how you plan on configuring the Air or your Tab or Surface. Let's dig into some of the miscellaneous specs. The Galaxy Tab S7 has 2 rear cameras. There's a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera and a 13 megapixel wide angle. You can shoot 4K 30 FPS video on this tablet for your tablet shooting. The Tab S7 also has 4 speakers, so you can hear stereo sound no matter how you hold this tablet. And there's also a 5G variant. The Apple iPad Air has 1 rear 12 megapixel camera capable of shooting 4K 60 FPS video, again, for those people who love shooting video with their tablets. There are only 2 speakers on the iPad Air, and as for 5G, that's a no-go. You can get LTE if you want. The Surface Pro 7 has an 8 megapixel rear camera that can record 1080p video. The Pro 7 houses stereo speakers. Do you want LTE or 5G? You'll either need a hotspot or some kind of adapter because neither 4G or 5G are built in. So there you have it. Checking the specs of the iPad Air, the Tab S7, and the Surface Pro 7. Now, did any of that information make you want to buy any of these tablets? All of them? None of them? Did you just wind up throwing your hands in the air and go, screw it, I'm just buying 5 Amazon Fire tablets? Let me know. I'm Zach Tarr, and I'll see you online.